HiFi is a journey. That is what any audiophile will tell you. Their story is going to be different from yours and vice versa. And no one's endgame really looks like someone else's endgame. But what is an endgame? Why do we chase an endgame? What is our ultimate goal with an endgame? For me, my endgame was the Dynaudio Confidence 50 loudspeakers. It's a $33,500 pair of loudspeakers. And 2 years ago, I bought those speakers. Albeit used, I got them for a pretty significant discount. But a couple months ago, after about 2 years of ownership, I decided to sell my Dynaudio Confidence 50s. So stick with me. We're going to talk about what's coming next, what's going to be new for this channel in 2026, and why I sold my dream speaker. Before we continue, welcome to HiFi Turtle, the #1 reptile adjacent hi-fi page on the internet. And if you're an audiophile, if you like hi-fi, if you love music, make sure you hit this like button, subscribe to this channel so you can see more in the future, and check the links below in the description for ways to help support this channel. For me, my obsession with the Dynaudio Confidence series occurred in 2022 at the Expona show in Schaumburg. Dynaudio was putting on the Confidence 60s. They had Octave electronics, they had Sim Audio electronics, and I came away from that show with that being the best sounding room of that show. And I thought, man, I would really love to own those speakers one day. Again, this is a $33,500 pair of loudspeakers, and the 60s are darn near $50,000. So very aspirational pieces for me. This is a very expensive loudspeaker. Then about 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to buy a pair at a used pair and at a significant discount. So I jumped on it. I decided, you know what? I'm going to go for it. So I ended up selling my Focal Sopra 2s and going to the Dynaudio Confidence 50. A pretty large jump when you think about it. Everything about the Confidence 50 was immaculate. And you can check out my full review of that speaker up here. I got criticized from that review saying that it was not a review, but more just a gushing of love for that speaker. But truthfully, I'm just saying how wonderful that speaker actually did sound. Going into this year, I found myself listening less and less in my music room. And I thought that that was just so terrible as someone who loves music and someone who is in this media space that talking about music, talking about how to better reproduce music, not listening to music as much as I typically have in the past. And there's a few things I could probably attribute that to, but I think one of the things that really kind of started to weigh on me was how expensive these speakers were and how much I had spent on this pair of speakers. And it just felt like every time that I was listening, there was this pressure to enjoy it. And it distracted from my overall enjoyment of the music. Even if the sound reproduction was actually immaculate, which it is, that pressure was always weighing on me that, yes, it's great, but you need to enjoy this. And that's just not a good feeling to have when you're listening to music, trying to unwind, trying to relax, trying to just have a good time, having that pressure on you. Maybe a little bit after this honeymoon period that I've had with the Confidence 50s, I started to come to this realization that maybe these speakers are a little bit too big for my room, and I bit off a little bit more than I could chew with this loudspeaker, which is arguably maybe true as well. But overall, the sound of this speaker is still absolutely phenomenal, and my room is really well treated, so I don't feel too far into that kind of realm. But the other thing for me is a little unique is being in this space, doing reviews, things of that nature. It's really hard to move those speakers out of the way and then reposition them and yada, yada, yada. So it really kind of limited my ability to bring in speakers into this space because they're just so big and massive and they're hard to move, and it's just not something that's easy to do. So it kind of limited me on that perspective. But also I felt like the gear that is traditionally available to me from distributors and that people want me to review is more so in the under like $15,000 range, where again, the Confidence 50s are a $33,500 loudspeaker. So I feel like from a media perspective, for me as a reviewer to say, hey, this loudspeaker that I have for review is totally not comparable at all to the absolute giant behemoth masterpiece that I'm typically used to listening to, but yeah, it's still pretty good, but this one's a lot better. That just, comparison-wise, I think is not as valuable to you, the viewer. And for some reason, over like the last 6 months, the used hi-fi market has been getting a little hotter. I'm not really sure why. Speakers seem to be appreciating, weirdly, on the used market. So these speakers I bought for a significant discount, less than half, 2 years ago. And I saw them going on the used market for a little bit more than half. And I said, you know what, maybe I should get out of this while I'm in the green, if you will, while I still can, and then figure out something, reset, and do a little soul searching on the audio side. So I think that also pushed me a little bit. So essentially that's why I sold the dynamic competencies. I don't think this has to be a long video about my journey and all this stuff, but you know, that's just what happened. And I feel like, again, I reached an end game, I reached a goal that I had, and sometimes when you win that last race or you reach that end, it's a little empty feeling. And I think that's also something that kind of weighed on me as well is, well, where do I go from here, realistically? And I think that stepping back and resetting and doing a little bit more soul searching in this audio journey is something that is fulfilling in the audiophile sense that there can be something next. And if you follow me on Instagram, you know what is next. And that what is next is actually the Wilson Audio Sabrina, the Series 1 Sabrina, not the X, not the V, although the V looks sweet. I went for the Series 1, because again, I got a great deal on a used pair. You know, I love my deals. And the other thing is, when I started out looking at speakers, if you watch my video about why I chose the Focal Canta 2, I went through a world tour of speakers. I went to so many different stores, demoed so many different speakers in around that price range. And one of the speakers that I listened to at Quintessence Audio at the time was the Sabrina Series 1, because we had gone through this rigmarole of all these speakers, and they were like, oh, you should check out this Sabrina. They were like, I know it's out of your price range, but you should just check it out. I think they were planting those seeds. But anyway, Sabrina Series 1, when I listened to it all those years ago, that was amazing. I mean, it was $16,000. I thought to myself, wow, if that was in my budget, I would love to have that speaker. That was amazing, incredible. And so now I came back at full circle and I'm like, well, now I can have the Sabrina. So that's where I am at. I'm with a speaker that is 2 series removed from current, but I still think is a great loudspeaker. I'm looking forward to detailing some more listening experiences with the Wilson Sabrina and talking to you a little bit more. With this channel going forward, I think that we're still going to be doing a lot of reviews. I'm going to be doing reviews for the listening chair as well. So stay tuned, subscribe to the listening chair to see some of my reviews over there. And one of the other things I really want to explore in 2026 is telling more audio stories. Maybe not so much story like this, if you will, but talking about the stories, the journeys, things of that for particular hi-fi brands or particular speakers, or you know, how something was made, the story of a brand, the story of something like that, and understanding like what makes this hi-fi world and audiophile world just so special and so interesting, rather than just from a quality perspective. So that's it. I hope to see you all in 2026, whether that's here in the comments, at a show, or elsewhere. I really appreciate all the support this year and all the years past. I hope you continue to support me. You know, hit that like button, subscribe, check the links below in the description, because that's where the real support is. Leave a comment, you know, that helps support as well. But again, I really appreciate it, you. Thanks for joining me on my audio journey, and I'll see you in the next one.